First things first for good old Cuckshack, the Cuckshack that we haven't had in a while, is who are you and what is the bullshit that you're on about? You want to tell the audience?
I'm Kothorix. I'm a dragon. I rar things, mostly on YouTube. And then people rar back at me on Twitter, tell me how much of a horrible person I am. That's pretty much...
Yeah, that's the usual affair.
That's pretty much the cycle that I've gotten into. And then I make a video about them bitching at me. So, you know, it works out.
And what mostly defines you outside of the professional realm? So let's ignore like the YouTubey stuff. Like you're a dragon, and what else makes you you? Makes you a special lad?
Oh boy, special. Wow. I mean, outside of YouTube, I guess there isn't a whole lot to my life. Other than just like.
That's all I am. I don't have any other dimensions.
I
to
know
me.
It is. It's sad. Playing video games, which I've turned into streaming, so that's also part of like a professional thing. And I don't know, is like looking at furry porn a
I mean, I'd count it if it adds a third metric to the list. At least that's three things. You know, it's better than being, oh, I'm YouTube and I'm a dragon and beep. You know?
Yeah. I don't know.
Porn is porn's my hobby. It's not only a hobby; it's my profession.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Completely credible. Because if it's not credible, then what does it say about me?
Right. Okay.
You know
Looking at porn.
It doesn't really do me any favors.
I'm a consumer of. Well, I'm a porn critic in my own mind. I'm a porn critic hobbyist.
I'm a porn entrepreneur. I'd say I like to invest in porn. I like to stock take in porn. I like to write, and create, and fantasize, I guess.
Yeah, it's a
good way to put it.
It's a good market, especially in this community.
Yeah. That's a good question, actually, now that you've done a little tangent there. What would you say got you into what you're doing right now? Was it the furry community, or did you initially start on the YouTube side of things, the more critical side of things, and then woven into furry? Like, what was your origin story?
Yeah.
Per se.
Originally, I wanted to be a gaming channel, and so I made a bunch of gaming reviews. I think they're all still up. I mean, I made about a dozen different reviews for games, and I did little tutorials for certain things. Like, I think my very first video was like a tutorial for how to do something in RuneScape. That's...
RuneScape. So how many years ago are you speaking here if we're talking RuneScape?
Oh, wow. Not even that long ago. It was like 2015.
Oof, recent RuneScape. Oof, yeesh, oof. That's not very relevant. You think you'd be like starting a career with Fortnite or some fucking dumb shit like that? Maybe some Minecraft on the side.
I fucking hate Fortnite.
You know what the kids love these days?
I hate. Okay.
RuneScape's classic.
It's a tangent, but I hate Fortnite. Let me just say that. I want to play. If I want to play a game where I'm shooting at other people, I want to shoot at other people. I don't want to play Minecraft also. You know, if they took the building out of Fortnite, or just made it so it wasn't like you just rapidly mash down walls everywhere. If it was more like fucking, I don't even know, like take a while to build something, have to think about it a little bit instead of just putting down walls as fast as you possibly can.
Well, that ruins my script. Gonna have to take out this 20-minute Fortnite section out of the podcast. That really throws a wrench in my plans, but.
So.
No, I agree. Like, anytime I see like professional Fortnite players, just people building like instantaneous retarded wooden structures to avoid getting shot. And I feel like if I was on either side of that exchange, I'd be frustrated. Because if I'm on the side where I have successfully, as intention, flanked my enemy, and then they just build a fucking fortress instantaneously, like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Because like it takes more than one shot to get through that shit.
Yeah.
So they can just constantly build up sand walls. Like, no, you don't get the no.
Yeah, well, it's like you put down a wall and it's instantly there, even though the graphics of it like show it slowly building. If it was that so you could still shoot them while it was building instead of it just being there immediately. You know what I mean?
They should have 0 HP for at least like 3 seconds.
Right, something like that.
Because it shouldn't be reactionary. It should be premeditated. You should build your fort in like preparation for an engagement, not in
Yeah, exactly. I'd be fine with that because that's kind of cool, like planning or preparing. But when it's just this, just spamming down walls as fast as you can, and that's part of how you play the game, it's just dumb.
Like I get the idea though coming from them thinking, oh, let's take crafting. That's popular these days. Now let's take like sandbox creation. That's popular these days too. Or what else do kids love these days? They like Minecraft. Let's put some of that in there. They like battle royales. Oh shit, we're a bit late. We just added zombies to the game. I thought zombies was the latest gimmick that everyone's into. Shit. What do we do now? Oh, just fucking get rid of the fucking zombies. Bring in the battle royale. Oh, perfect.
Yep.
Done. All right. But what about the building? Well, fuck the building. Kids love building. Leave that in. What's the problem?
Yep. Something like that.
Like it makes a lot of sense for its original intent, like fortresses and traps and all that, but yeah, it doesn't translate to the new game mode at all.
So what were we talking about before? I can't even remember.
Porn for like 2 minutes, and then we've done 3 minutes of Fortnite. So are we wrapping it up there, or do you got anything else?
Well, yeah, I have intense ADHD, so this is going to be the whole thing. It's just going to be bouncing around between topics. So prepare for that.
Let's say, so after RuneScape, that was your origin story. You said that you got into YouTubing because of game reviews.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And then how did that transition into the whole I'm a dragon now, and I like to eat you, and I do like political / furry related videos? How did that come?
Okay, so after doing like who knows how many, like a few months of game reviews, and those reviews would only get like 100 views, you know, I was like, okay, this is bullshit. This isn't working. I spent a lot of time putting these little reviews together. Like, I gotta play through an entire game, like an 8-hour game, and then spend another like 3-4 hours, you know, putting together footage and editing.
Scripting, and then it's all for like a 5-minute video.
For a 5-minute video, right? And then no one watches it. It's like, all right, this is bullshit. So I looked around on YouTube. I basically just copied channels that I liked. So I liked Grade A Under A, who I guess isn't around anymore. I liked I Hate Everything. And then I also liked a lot of the older reviewers, like Angry Video Game Nerd, and they're just kind of rant formula. So I started doing some videos like that, right? And those actually did really well, the fuck it videos, where I just basically ranted about some stupid topic for like 10 minutes, and they were very, like, I tried to make them humorous. I put in a lot of like editing, like humor, you know, like characters flying around on the screen and stuff like that. And
to stop people from falling asleep between like the analytical portions.
Yeah. Well, I didn't actually do a whole lot of analyzing. It was more just me like bitching about things and like yelling. And those did really well, but I got bored of them eventually. And how it became like political is, the more of those I did, the more topics I found that were just politicized. Like, it was a shit that made me kind of angry in some way, you know, like some social justice shit or something. So after making like my 5th social justice video, people were just kind of expecting me to make videos like that, and that kind of got into the whole, that's how I transitioned into the whole political thing. And
it became like your niche, like because that was your most popular content. It's like, all right, more SOW shit, because they're like, oh well, he's obviously not going to review RuneScape anytime soon again.
Right. And, you know, from time to time I still do like a gaming video or something about anime or something. Another thing I started doing was kind of more philosophical videos, or at least armchair philosophy videos. And I don't know, I just kind of do, at this point I just kind of do whatever, because I never really made up my mind about what channel I wanted to be exactly. And,
do you feel like your channel's heading in the direction you want it to be now?
Well, my only goal for a long time was to get 100k subs, and but after I got about to like 35k, I kind of lost interest in that goal. Like I felt like, you know, a lot of the problems that I have with YouTube is the basically putting in a lot of work for very little reward, and a lot of the time the flack that comes from it makes it feel like it's not worth it, you know? Like if...
Well, that's the difficult part about fixating on growth, is that if you base your happiness and satisfaction on a numerical number, so let's say 100,000 people, you start to feel it as that momentum starts to slow down, and then you start to realize that, wait, is my experience once I hit this threshold really going to be that different than what it is now, or is it actually going to be more drama?
Yeah, and that's exactly it. That's exactly the point I got at when I hit about around 30 to 40k. I think I'm almost 40k right now, around there. And then I really kind of slowed down on content, and I stopped making videos that I knew would do well. Like, I stopped making videos specifically to make videos to get clicks, and instead just started making whatever I want. And so my channel growth has really slowed down, but at the same time, I don't feel super stressed out about it all the time. And I still feel like I have a good amount of subs to not feel like a total failure, so it just kind of, that's where I'm at.
Well, it stops being in service of you and it starts being in service of the channel once, like, views take over.
Yeah.
When you only make videos to get the biggest clicks, to get the most attention, to get the most, like, revenue, etc. Like, there's already plenty of people doing that, so the voice that you have ends up being, like, meshed in and basically just becomes an extension of what they're saying. Because in order to be relevant, you just kind of have to copy other people, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah, you do. There is a certain format that people like. There's a formula for everything, and it's very tiring, I guess. It's very there's no creativity to it. It's there's a certain formula for how long your videos should be, you know, what they should be about, and you'll see it too, because anytime anything happens, like let's say when Alex Jones got kicked off of whatever, there were 1,000 videos with all very similar titles, very similar content, very similar thumbnails, all by this...
all basically saying the same thing.
Yeah, no, they have nothing new to add to the conversation. And every time anything happens, that's what it is. It's like these people, all these channels, who just kind of ride the wave of whatever thing just happened, and as fast as possible they make a video about it, even though they have nothing to add, nothing to say of any substance or consequence. And I've actually tried to like call this out before, but people didn't like that. They got mad.
Oh, they'll never like reality being thrown at them. Like, the sad part is that we've seen these waves of pseudo like celebrity YouTubers before. Like, there was the phase of like the angry video game nerd, and then all the derivatives like JonTron and all that popped up. And then there were derivatives of JonTron, and then there was Peanut Butter Gamer, and then there was derivatives of him. And then that phase died out, and then it became more of like a reactionary let's play phase. So then you had your Game Grumps, and then you had your Only Plays, and then you had all these plays people. You had and then that kind of washed out, and now it's more like the essay format phase of YouTube.
Yeah.
And now you have your shadow people that are copying other people, and I feel like now YouTube's kind of transitioning to something else. I think the biggest indication of this was that boxing match between Logan Paul and KSI. I think that kind of initiated a brand new generation for YouTube, where it's going to be more... I feel like, this is sincere, I feel like it's going to become more like reality TV, in a sense, where people are blogging their lives and they're kind of faking scripted scenarios, and I think that people are going to be heavily influenced by what's on top of YouTube right now. It's either going to be that, or it's going to be really dumb Indian kids movies. Like that, hello, Papa!
Yeah, the kids' channels. No, you're right.
No more lies! No, Papa!
Oh man. Well, ever since the adpocalypse, where they started demonetizing basically everything for having anything that wasn't like perfectly kid friendly, a lot of those kind of like kids channels have popped up, and you know, those are the like eating beats Papa type videos, and the like Elsa and Spider-Man.
Yes, Spider-Man farts on pregnant Elsa.
Yeah, those and
quality content that deserves to be on top of YouTube kind of
reviews of toys and those kinds of channels. A lot of those have popped up because they're so just nothing. That
they're just perfectly generic and bland and safe.
Yeah,
that's kind of what YouTube wants. They want safe. So people like PewDiePie, sadly, like they've been dethroned by these kids channels and all that, because he's just too much of a risk. Like, they've already tried to invest in him. He's a human being, he makes mistakes, and now like they don't want anything to do with him, and he's got to sell merch to survive, and that's just kind of how it is now.
Yeah, there's yeah, it really sucks like that it's getting to a point where you can't really say or do anything original or interesting. You just have to play it safe.
And I don't think that's a YouTube exclusive thing. I think that's for all social platforms right now. Like, the culture in general has become very politically correct, very group identity based. You can't really say anything on Twitter, you can't really say anything on Facebook, you can't really say anything on the internet, period. And then people are surprised when these businesses that pursue that kind of mindset go broke, or they don't sell, or they, fall out of relevancy because people outside of that tabloid sensational bubble don't subscribe to it, which is the mainstream amount of people.
Yeah.
I'm sure that YouTube looks at their papers and go, yes, people want dumb, nonsensical kids media because that's what's getting us the most amount of money. Our advertisers are very happy with that, but what they don't get is that the whole generation of people that made YouTube a thing are getting very antsy. They don't want that shit anymore. They're waiting for the opportunity for something else to fill its place, and then they pursue that. That's why Twitch in a way blew up so much, because YouTube had all the competition. It was a monopoly on video entertainment. So when gaming streaming came into play, that just kind of exploded.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And Twitch is a little bit behind in that respect. It's getting a little bit more PC and all that. I actually think they've made a lot of good moves in terms of reducing the effects of cam whoring and shit. I think that's a smart move. But I do think that a lot of the streams is based down to the business, though. I think a lot of the PC shit that happened to the Overwatch streamers on Twitch and all that wasn't so much Twitch as it was Blizzard calling the shots there. So I wouldn't really call Twitch as bad as YouTube yet, but it just depends how time goes.
Yeah, I guess we'll see. I feel like there's not really going to be a place for these sort of, I don't know what to call them, journalistic pieces where...
Well, adult
adult entertainment, yeah, where, I can't...
Well, think about it. Traditional news is dying.
Yeah.
The viewership of, CNN, Fox News and all that, they're all globally dropping. I used to work at a physical newspaper place, and they were going out of business. People don't read newspapers anymore. They don't watch the news. So a lot of that information is going to come online. So when people can't even monetize the news on the internet either, like YouTube and shit, how is anyone meant to follow what's going on in the world? Are we all meant to just fucking watch our happy go dancey kids animations and that it? And that's our whole view of the world?
Yeah, it's we played We Happy Few.
Yeah.
Yeah. they have got the department of journal censorship where they're just blotting out parts of newspapers that say anything negative at all.
Well, Twitter.
About anything. Yeah, a little bit. But it's weird because with Twitter and even with YouTube, they don't seem to care too much if you're saying something negative about, a certain race or a certain gender. But if you do it about another one, even if you don't say anything negative, just kind of say facts, then you'll get in trouble.
Yeah, it's very particular about what forms of racism is okay and what isn't. I think that's kind of very backwards and very political.
Yeah, it bothers me. I made a video recently about that, how maybe if a social media platform gets big enough, it has enough people using it every day, then it should have some kind of government oversight, right? Where
I don't know about that. The problem they're striking is that they've decided as a business that it's their responsibility to be political in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
But once you start doing that, you open up a whole can of worms, like YouTube's issue, where they're trying to deduce what is appropriate and not appropriate content. They've had to, there's so many people uploading to YouTube on a daily basis that they've had to employ bots to do it. They've had to basically employ sweatshop workers that only check these videos out for a few seconds to do it, and that's why all these false flags to Ethan and Ela happen just by talking about Alex Jones.
Mm-hmm.
So they see, Alex Jones, he's banned, block, and that's causing them crazy bad PR. But they decided in the first place, in collusion with these other major businesses, that's why they did it all at the same time, to deplatform that person. But once you start doing that, it's where does it stop? All right, you've done it to Alex Jones, who's next?
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's why I think that at a certain point, maybe they shouldn't be allowed to ban anyone other than if you post something that is specifically illegal for, whatever reason. Make it classified as a public forum where everyone is allowed to exist there and say what they want.
That's the only way to do it fairly, in my opinion.
Yeah.
You leave real reporting features to things that are obviously breaking the law. It's the same rules of freedom of speech. You don't yell fire in a theater. You don't yell bomb in an airport because that's disrupting the peace. You're only saying those things to cause havoc. Obviously, if it's true, you get left off the hook. And the same should apply to YouTube and stuff like that. You should be able to say any like erroneously offensive thing you want, because people can just choose to not subscribe to that content. It should be allowed to exist though.
Yeah.
So long as you're not calling to violence and shit like that. Like, oh, I'm gonna assault this person, or here's this person's information, go dox them.
Right.
That's obviously criminal activity, which a lot of people let slide. A lot of people think doxing is completely permitted when you disagrey with someone.
Yeah, I don't understand that. I don't understand how malicious doxing is allowed and it's just okay. Like,
agendas. Like, the whole point is that I can be racist, I can be malicious, I can be racially insensitive if it's pushing for the politics I agree with personally. Like, the morals don't play into it, and that's kind of fucked up.
Yeah. I don't know. It's hard to say who should have authority, because when something gets big enough like this, where you've got basically the entire country on Twitter all talking, and then you get kicked off of that, it does feel like you've just been banned from the internet in a way, because now you can't. It's like if you weren't allowed to leave your house almost, you know.
Well, that's the thing. I genuinely believe that these social platforms in a way should be respected like a public domain.
Yeah.
Because like you said, it's if it's at the point that the president uses Twitter, there should be things in place to protect the freedom of speech on Twitter. It shouldn't become something that is privately, like, distributed at that point.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Have some kind of government oversight, but at the same time, it's kind of scary because if you have government oversight and then the government has some kind of agenda, you can't escape it. You know, you can't.
Well, that's the terrifying like altruism of that situation. Let's say you give too much government oversight, you turn into North Korea, where you have a governmentally mandated internet that you can only watch governmentally mandated websites, and that if you have any interaction with the outside world and their internet, you get put to jail or fucking murdered for it. Because at that point, they're using the government to censor thought, which is even more dangerous than censoring speech.
Yeah.
So it is a very fine line to step on, and that's why I strongly believe the best answer is to just have neither involved at all. Let the people that use the platform figure out what they want to look at and what they don't, but you leave it all as a fair game equally.
Yeah, how would you do that though? Because you have to have some kind of service, some kind of like corporation that has this service that people use.
Well, you do it like early generation YouTube or Twitter, where they weren't big enough to stress about that on a financial level. You just literally give people the platform to say whatever you want, and then you let them say it, kind of like 4chan, where they only have moderation in service to stop like extreme depictions of porn that are illegal globally. Like obviously the attacks and the doxing shit, but besides that, you can say anything you fucking want. And they also protect you anonymously too, to do it. And I think that's a part of the internet that should stay cherished. I think that kind of shit is very important. And that's why any regulations that try to put censorships on the internet are very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I mean, I see what you're saying. I just don't see how it would work in practice, because somebody has to own those servers, you know, that keeps all the information. And somebody has to develop the program that allows people to do this thing.
I'm not saying that it's going to be like publicly domain, is that an industry doesn't make the service. Like, you just apply ads to it like anything else. I'm just saying that they can find a way to be profitable with it without taking people off their platform for saying or doing things that they disagree with personally.
Yeah. Yeah, sure.
Like,
place. I'm sure there's a lot of places that are popping up. I think like Minds is one of them, where you don't get banned for anything. Or Gab, I think, is especially, I mean, people are really vile on that. But then you run into that problem. To bring it back to furries, it's kind of the Fur Affinity and Inkbunny problem, where, you know, Inkbunny was just another site like Fur Affinity, and then Fur Affinity bans cub porn, and Inkbunny doesn't, so everyone...
It becomes a refuge.
Yeah, so then Inkbunny becomes... The only thing you find there is cub porn, so that's what it is now, the cub porn site, and it's like, it wasn't intended to be like that, but if everything disallows something except for one site, then that one site attracts all of those people, and then just becomes like.
And it also makes the whole thing more divisive because now you've just pushed all those people into a corner, and that has to become their identity now to sustain it.
Yeah.
Now they are just the cub porn people, as you say.
Yeah.
Whereas before they were just regular furries, but with some more taboo kinks that should probably, have some more discretion. But it doesn't mean that they're terrible people. They just might need some direction. In terms of like FA and all that, you have the group of people that just get banned for just being toxic. Mm-hmm. And where do they go? Well, they probably go to free pirating websites like E621, where you can just get all the same content for free without any interaction.
Yeah.
So then if any creator stumbles upon that website and they try to interact with it, they all hate them to death because they're part of the problem in their eyes. It's fucked up. But that's kind of like the situation that has. But you can't really avoid that to an extent. People do need, like if they're being malicious, to be deplatformed. But I don't think in respects to YouTube or the people that are getting targeted in that respect, that Alex Jones was, because they're trying to say that, he's saying that like the school shootings and shit were a conspiracy. Well, he said those things years ago. Why is he suddenly getting attacked by all directions all at the same time on the same day within the same couple of hours by 4 major
right,
platforms?
By groups that are obviously working together. Yeah, prove him right. Prove Alex Jones right. That's good for you. That's good for people's sanity in general. But...
Yeah, and then the one that doesn't do it, Twitter, the CEO says, well, Alex Jones hasn't broken the rules on our platform. He's an idiot, but he hasn't broken the rules, and we'll ban him gladly when he does. And what happens? They just attack him for it. So it's like, maybe he didn't break the rules in the first place, and people are just pressuring these big businesses to cave in to the current agenda.
Yeah, I don't know. It's all... I don't know. I guess I'm just lucky that I'm not like too crazy, I guess, with the things that I say. Like I'm not too vitriolic, because I'd get banned from everything too. I feel if I was like 10% more, I don't even know what the word would be. More myself, I'd get banned from everything.
See, that's the really dumb thing. You can say the exact same things, and it's okay, as long as you take out certain language out.
Yeah.
It's kind of like language policing. Like, you can be racist, you can be malicious, you can be evil, so long as you color it the right way.
Yeah.
Which is something I really, really disagree with. Like, the point that you're trying to make, I'm saying it towards the perspective of these people that do this behavior. It's like, you're saying some really insidious shit, but you're just trying to, like, decorate it with icing and fluffiness and floweriness and that kind of shit to make it seem okay when it's not. Like, someone who actually pays attention to what you say are saying that it's not really good at all. I didn't take a breath. Holy shit, I'm getting too invested in this. Yeah, like, it doesn't make it any different whether you swear, whether you curse, or whether you say it with, like, sir, ma'am, anything you want, or any pronoun you want. If you're being insidious, it's still the same shit. And I really think that what comes down to all this censorship shit is just taking out the other side of the argument. I think that's really dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree with Alex Jones on anything. I don't think that he's thinking his opinion pieces out. I don't think he does his research. I think he's very hysterical, hyperbolic for the terms of views and shit. But that's okay. That's what YouTube is.
Yeah.
If you try to classify that as wrong, you deplatform nearly 65% of the people creating on that.
Yeah,
You've said it yourself, to get any kind of reach, you had to be kind of hyperbolic. So do you deserve ban too? You've even said that you're afraid of it to an extent.
Yeah, that's like... What Alex Jones does isn't really different than what any sort of, like, Let's Player does, what PewDiePie did for a long time, just screaming, because, like, a little ghost pops up on screen. Like, so that's just part of YouTube. That's part of what you need to do to have an audience. And it's weird that he would get banned for that.
Like, what would you rather watch? You have two options. Alex Jones or Spider-Man fighting on Elton. What do you feel is slightly more... Like, I know both are really stupid, but which one, if you were pushed by a gun, is more stimulating for your brain?
The funny part is I never actually watched really any of Alex Jones until after he got banned from all these places. And I find that shit so hysterical. Like, some of the things that he says, if you watch, like, compilations of some of the craziest shit he's said.
Yeah, he's a fucking clown. Like, I don't take a word he says seriously. It's fucking hilarious.
It's hilarious.
he would not be as successful as he was without that personality. He's hilarious. Like the fucking frogs are gay, and fucking Hillary's a fucking swamp demon goblin.
Yeah.
And shit like that. It's fucking great.
Yeah.
Chasing people down the street over fucking calling him not a man and shit, flipping him off, chasing him down. It's fucking amazing. But yeah, like I can obviously the shit he says can affect politics, but everything can. Like if you're gonna say that his stuff is dangerous politically, then don't be a hypocrite, because there's so many people on the other side doing the exact same shit, but they're trying to act like it isn't. That's the dangerous part.
Yeah.
At least Alex Jones obviously presents himself as crazy, a conspiracy theorist, and embraces it.
Mm-hmm.
What's really, really terrifying are the people that play it off completely straight. And they're saying, these are facts. This is the real world.
Yeah.
That's fucking scary.
When it comes to that, that's what really bothers me. Like, once again, with the furry community, because I don't pay a whole lot of attention to anything outside of the furry community when it comes to these sort of politics, because it's too expansive. There's too much for me to really care about. All these people and government and all this stuff. But I do try to pay attention to what's going on in the furry community, and it's just kind of a microcosm for all the the world at large. So you see that same thing, all these people like so and so is a Nazi, so and so is a racist, and they just speak like with authority on it, like they just have proof, and people just believe them. And then it's like,
yeah, and if you ask them for any of that proof, you're a Nazi too.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, they block
now.
You mostly if you do that. Or the biggest thing was like trying to talk to people about like Foxler and the Furry Raiders, right? And how they're like the Furry Raiders are Nazis, and Nazis are a problem because they try to do things like get conventions shut down and cause problems. The Furry Raiders have been doing that. That's why Nazis are a problem. Like, we can't have them in the fandom because they try to get our conventions shut down. And I'm thinking like, or did you call them all Nazis and ban them from the conventions wrongly, and now they're mad and trying to get you shut down because you have shut them down, right?
Yeah, for injustice.
Like,
that's what people don't get, is that when you call things if you call people things without doing the due diligence to research it, people get offended, and then they no longer want to be associated with you. It's a double-edged sword.
Yeah.
So if you're going around parading around like you're some righteous asshole, saying that everyone that disagrees with you is the worst people in human fucking history, that are atrocities to mankind, how do you think they're going to react? Do you think they're going to, like, let's say you're a coffee stall, and you say, I'm not in service to 50% of the population, and then they come in angrily and try and shut down your business, would you act surprised?
Yeah, that's and what we were talking about earlier too comes into this, is backing people into a corner, which I think is a lot of what the whole alt furry whole thing was about. I don't know if that's still around or not, because I don't really pay. I think it's more secretive now. They used to be public, but then
they don't have a platform, and if they ever do get one, they get shut down. So I doubt they really have any momentum. But anyway.
But I feel like that's what it was about mostly, and people kind of failed to see that, is that there were all these people who were being wrongly accused of being Nazis or being racists or whatever, and being shut down, and the only place that they could find was this group that of other people who had been shut down. And so in a way, this whole like super politically correct accusing everyone of being a Nazi thing created the alt furry in the first place. Well, it never would have been a thing if it weren't for it's like you create your own enemies.
It's the exact same reason that suddenly, after 70 years of peace, Nazis are suddenly a threat again. It's like, why could that be? It's like, oh, well, you see them at protests. It's like, oh, okay, protests, huh? What are they protesting? But no one pays attention to that. They're not just showing up in the streets and causing anarchy. They're, like, disobeying a certain type of authoritarianism. And that authoritarianism is the people calling them fucking Nazis.
Yeah.
Like, hello, dumbasses, like, what are you doing? If you want to, like, decrease people being divisive to your ideology, maybe stop being assholes towards them and work with them.
Yeah, that's what it's...
Like, it's not hard, and if you're not capable of that, maybe you're not as good of a person as you think you are.
I think that do you? It's hard to say because I don't know if these people think that they are good people exactly. I think that they think they're doing a necessary evil. When they say things like punching Nazis, we have to punch the Nazis. I don't know if they see that as necessarily as a wholly righteous thing, or if they see it as a necessary evil. Because I think that, like, at the heart of it, people are just people, and I can't imagine anyone just being like, yeah, physical violence is the way to go, especially when we're talking about these people who are wholly against physical violence or any violence or anything remotely like violence in all other regards, because these are the hypersensitive.
Oh yeah, that's the thing. Like, I don't buy it at all when people say that they want to punch other people for any kind of self-righteous reason. I genuinely believe that they are pressured into that belief because they don't want to be on the side that's getting punched.
Yeah.
So what happens is that you're either with us or against us. This is full-blown tribalism. And if you don't join our ranks, wear our badges, and push our message, then we're going to be the people that punch you.
Yeah.
So it's all these spineless fucking pussy bags, afraid of any kind of conflict, joining the giant mob of anger because it helps them blend in and takes any accountability or responsibility off them and puts it towards the group.
You're right. You're exactly right. That's a lot of... I've done my best to talk to some of these people, and when it comes down to it, they're just people. They're like normal, and in how we would consider normal, like in 90% of the things that they do, but then there's this one part of them that is afraid to be like outcast, in the furry community, so they join the whole, I don't know what to call it, social justice, like leftist sort of thing.
It's called group identity politics. When you sacrifice your individuality to conform to a group, you're literally adapting their identity instead of your own.
Yeah, it's gotten so weird in the furry community with that. It didn't used to be like this. There were always people who were oversensitive, and but for the most part, you could just ignore them. But then it just became like a thing, like a mob. It became you're either this or you're the complete opposite of that, right? Like, I get called a Nazi because I'm not supportive of the, like, social justice, whatever. Right? Not because I've done anything that is Nazi-like, but just because I must be against them, Because
you have a different opinion.
Yeah. Or things that don't make a whole lot of sense, like because I'm friends with people who have been
like
Nazi.
Secondhand affiliation to a Nazi.
Yeah. Guilt by association.
down to a possible Nazi, therefore they're all Nazis. Like, you do realize that by the end of this logical downfall, that 90% of the population are going to be Nazis.
Yeah.
And you're going to have what literally has already happened. You're going to have anarchical, militant, angry leftists attacking the police, attacking journalists, attacking other leftists because they can't discern the difference anymore because everyone is one dog whistle away from being a Nazi. And then they don't understand that the public at large sees them as what they are, which is just thugs. Like, when you're that filled with rage and your entire point to your message is anger, that's all you are. You become what you hate. You become the intolerant, hateful, discriminatory group that you say that you're fighting against. And if you push that into question, then that only serves to reinforce it, because people's true colors become to the front of the conversation. You get your opportunity to either finally step up and say, you know what, that doesn't match my morals, I can't do this anymore, I don't agree with violence, or you back down, you pull out your spine, and you just conform like the rest of them.
Yeah, it's a cycle that feeds into itself is the unfortunate problem, because the more people who are like this and calling everyone Nazis, the more Nazis that they see, which means there's more of a problem, which just increases their anger. Because
it's like how there's a subset of feminists that see every single man as a persecutor. It's similar to seeing any member of a particular race as a persecutor. So what can be particularly dangerous is if you hit all the check marks for these minorities that are so angry. If you're white, if you're straight, if you're slightly less left, you are the worst person on the planet, and they are blinded to any kind of discrimination they have towards these groups.
Yeah.
Which is really stupid, because these are the majority in their countries. So if you're pushing a constant battle and constantly smearing and attacking the character of people that are only trying to get along with you just to push an ideology, you're never going to win. And that's already been evident. All these angry leftists, well, you didn't win the election. And do you know why you didn't win the election? Because you keep defaming the other side. They don't want to put up with this shit anymore. That's why they intentionally voted for someone that was outside of the political circle.
Yeah.
And if they're not careful, they're going to get Trump 2020.
Well, I think that's an inevitability at this point.
Yeah, I really do, because every single leftist movement I've seen has been shooting itself in the foot.
Yeah.
They don't call Bernie Sanders the left anymore. They denounced Obama for encouraging like a deplatforming of division and trying to like tell them to, hey, maybe you should listen to the people that you hate because they might be right in some circumstances. He got deplatformed for that. Every single leftist piece of media is going broke for saying, hey, fuck you, man, babies, like, don't watch our shit. Oh no, we're losing money. All the games that are doing it.
Yeah, games. That's what I was saying.
Yeah, the furry community's doing it. Like, not everyone wants to subscribe to the notion of waving around fucking Nazi propaganda at cons no matter what side you're on. We don't want to see it.
Yeah.
The whole point of winning wars is to get over that shit. It's been dead for 70 years, and now you're trying to tell me that while I'm wearing a fucking furry fursuit, I need to be paranoid about some fucking Nazis behind my back without any proof or evidence about it? Like, fuck off. I'm not here for that.
Yeah.
If you push that shit, I just won't come to your con.
It's so crazy. It's so crazy that the Nazi thing just kind of popped up again. Like, Nazis, like, that hasn't been relevant, like you said, hasn't been relevant in a while. Why Nazis suddenly?
Yeah,
Right?
and what's the evidence? Oh, well, there's this Foxler guy, and we've known him for years. All right, so you've known him for years. What has he done? And like they say, oh, well, he got kicked out of what was the most recent con? Was it Denver or something? Oh, we saw him at Denver getting kicked out before the con even started. It's like, okay, yeah. So where's your threat then? If this guy is making it blatantly obvious that he is a troll or a Nazi or whatever the fuck you want to call him, he's just bad news, and it's that easy to get rid of them, then why are you afraid? Just do what anyone has done since the dawn of time and just report it, and they're gone.
Well,
There's not that many of them. There's like, what, 2 or 3 actual Nazis in the whole furry community?
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. That's what I was gonna say. Like, how many are there in the actual furry community? And the thing is, I don't even think that Foxler is.
No, I think he's just an idiot.
Just,
like Alex Jones. I think he's just stupid. And like, I feel that what happens is that I felt it in some regard. I felt it from I've seen my friends go through the same thing. When you constantly get smeared incorrectly and no one listens to how you actually feel, you start to get pissed off. And you can take that out by wanting to distance yourself as much as possible to the people that are doing that to you, which is often these lefty type people. So I've seen people try and warm up, get slammed on, and then become more extreme on the other side. It's like, you fucking idiots are your own problem.
Yeah.
Stop. Like, if you don't, this is how you actually solve any kind of radicalism in the community. You talk to each other. It's not fucking hard. You sit down with people you disagree with and you listen to them. You hear what their stance is and you might go, oh, fuck me in the asshole. What do you know? I had more in common with this person than I thought, and the only real differences we have is that he sees things differently on this subject than I do, but it's basically the same opinion, just slightly different.
Well,
and maybe I should stop putting fences around my poor little fragile self about the people I disagree with.
It's hard to actually talk to them, though. Is one of the things that make it difficult to talk to them. I've had some conversations with some of these people, some of the like higher profile sort of progressives.
Oh, so have I.
And but they don't want to be on any sort of podcast. They don't want to have like a public talk or anything. And it's kind of unfortunate because I've talked to them in private, and for the most part, like I said, most people are just people. They're not crazy, like, psychopaths like they pretend to be on Twitter for whatever reason. But they don't want to actually talk, so then all I'm left with are, like, the centrists and the more, like, right-leaning people, and then I get labeled as a Nazi because those are the people that I talk to, but it's like, well, I've tried to talk to everyone, it's just for whatever reason.
Yeah, they're welcome to come on these shows, like, Sonic Fox, before he did any of this dumb shit that he did, was welcome to come on the podcast. He acted all chummy and friendly and all that. And then he discovered 12 months later that he was actually doxing and raiding the whole time.
Okay.
And what was his excuse for it? It's like, oh, well, I have different political beliefs. It's like, you think that makes it okay for you to be a fucking asshole?
You know, I didn't actually pay attention. Would you mind talking about that a little bit? Because I'd like to hear about this, the Sonic Fox thing.
Oh, yeah. So at the start of his furry community, career, before he became exceptionally large, when he was just winning a couple of tournaments,
Yeah.
he was actually quite friendly to a lot of people. Didn't really care who he spoke to. He actually came to us saying he would really like art from us. So this was back in the stage like anyone else, where they just respect Poppy Furs, they want to get to know them, they really come and hang out with anyone they want. He got invited to a room party a couple times, was really friendly, brought his laptop, played fighting games with a bunch of people, taught people the intricacies to fighting games, why it's a good like kind of area to get into. You know, very fun, cool guy. And then all of a sudden, like a few months later, stopped talking to everyone, got really silent. Anytime you ask him to do anything, wasn't really interested, made excuses. And then the following year, you find out, oh shit, all this drama seems to be pointing back to one person, and it was Sonic Fox. So I talked to him, and then he just exploded with agenda. Like you could, like, you know, when you speak to someone, and it's all things you've heard before. Mm-hmm. Like it's all very formulaic, it's very parody. You can kind of predict every single word that comes out of their mouth before they say it. Yeah, that's what the kind of way he was talking. It was very racist. It was very malicious. He had absolutely no empathy for what he was doing. The whole point was that I am now a part of this crowd of SJWs, and I'll go to any lengths to see that agenda to fruition. And that will include intentionally painting everyone that I disagree with as racist, sexist, transphobic, Nazis, and I will intentionally crop, edit, and change your statements to fit that narrative. And I told him, like, dude, like, if you keep that up, these people that you think are your friends and are chumming up to you, as soon as you step out of line a single time, they're gonna smell blood and turn on you too. And they just basically told me to fuck off.
Yeah.
So I'm like, just follow that path, dude. Go ahead. Like, I'm not gonna stop you. The whole point of what I'm about is free speech. So if you generally want to be filled with hate, feel like the world is oppressing you despite being one of the most successful people on the planet in terms of video game fighting competition, if you want to feel that way, then do that. Because unfortunately for that kind of work, response time isn't always as good as it is when you're young. You'll hit a threshold of age in which it doesn't meet the competitive edge anymore. You'll fall slightly out of relevancy, and then what are all those people that act like they're your friends right now going to do to you?
Well,
or what if you get one single scandal? Do you really think they're going to stand behind you and protect you?
That's what I was going to say, is that he's so high profile at the moment that it's just going to take one little mistake and everybody that he thinks is his friend is going to turn on him. And then he's going to realize, like, oh shit, I probably should have not burnt those bridges with the people who actually, like, didn't give a shit about all these tiny inconsequential things, you know?
Yeah, like, that's the sad part, is that he was very young when he became professional, when he became very successful. So I think people kind of took advantage of that. They're taking advantage of naivety of young liberals, and that's why you never really see extreme leftist radicals in anyone like above 35. You see, like, all the older people tend to be conservative because that naturally is the way of time.
Yeah.
The biggest enemy to leftist mentality is time, because as you start incurring more responsibility for yourself, it becomes impossible to be that selfish anymore.
Yeah.
You don't find the time for these ideologies and picket fencing and complaining about everything in your life because, oh shit, now I have to pay bills. Now I have to actually work 5 days a week. Now I have to care for someone else. Now I have to get my own rental apartment, and I had never pushed to get my license, or I've never pushed to pay my insurance, and all these other things that play into actually having to get a more disciplined, like, industrial kind of headspace. And once you enter that, you realize that all this stuff is really fucking stupid and pointless.
Yeah. It's unfortunate for the furry community that average furry is like 19 years old, which is the perfect age for, like, leftist extremism.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny. I was thinking before this podcast, my shit, this is going to be a really fucking pessimistic podcast when you think about it. I'm currently, like, political as fuck right now. I know Kothorix is political as fuck, and I'm just gonna rant on for like the probably the majority of the episode. And I'm thinking, wow, if you want to see the journey of like going from like bleeding hearts, sparkly-eyed, like dreaming leftist to just like jaded, not jaded, but like distant, disassociative, more industrial, analytical moderacy, just go from my first episode to this one. Because you can literally see that journey. You can hear in my Zorch episode, I'm like, I don't understand why I'm on top of the furry community. I don't get it. There's people better than me, but they're not in the community. Where do they go? Why does it seem that everyone that is above me seems so distant from the community?
Yeah.
And then when I actually got there myself, I'm like, oh wait, it's not that they lose interest just by correlation. They lose interest because there's greener pastures. The furry community is stuck. It's stuck where it started. And you can kind of see that in FA itself, is that it needs to grow, but it can't grow without any responsibility, and no one in the community right now that is in a leadership position is willing to push it. They're afraid of offending anyone that supports them, but you can't really get anything done without offending someone.
That's why I think that, people like you and I should get together and get some other people and try to make like a sort of new website or new place for furries to gather that is more politically neutral. And the main thing is funding. Like, I think we do have some of those people, some of the leadership in the community who want to make this happen, but they need funding. And most of, I don't want to say most, I'm going to say like a good half of the community would not be on board with it, because they are that sort of either they're that super progressive type, or they're afraid to get called out by those progressives, so they don't want to have anything to do with it.
I actually agree with that. I feel like if anyone posts to their FA profile or anything that they are on this new platform, that they would get completely demonized for it.
Yeah.
That's fucked up.
Exactly.
It's like, oh, you better not fucking go on that website. That's where all the Nazis are.
Yeah, exactly.
Anyone... That's basically Nazi.com. Like, oh man, you fucking ban that person.
Furrynazi.com, yeah, that'll be the domain
God, it's so
name.
fucking stupid. But yeah, you're right. I do think it needs to happen. I think what furries need to do, and I think it's what me and Caitlin need to do, is don't put all your eggs in the furry basket. Don't make that your entire identity, because what we did was we went looking for like similar websites, but not completely furry, kind of like Hentai Foundry.
Yeah.
And what we found was like, holy shit, they have fucking community events on the front page. They have all sorts of promotional feeds to promote new artists, medium artists, the top artists get their own feed. They have like spotlights. They have like, if you try and post something, they have so many filters. The things that are taboo on on the furry community, no one gives a fuck about. You can post fucking bestiality. You can post you can post anything, like extreme gore. You can do furry stuff is completely fine. They don't give a shit if you post the exact same material to Hentai Foundry, because they have actually put the work in to personalize all the filters. So if there's something you personally have a problem, you don't speak on behalf of the entire community. You can just filter that yourself.
Yeah, it's kind of funny when the otaku, like the anime people, are more tolerant of furry stuff than furries are.
I think it's because they've had more time to grow. Like the Hentai Foundry has years on the furry community. It's been around forever.
Uh-huh.
So naturally, if you go to these platforms, they've already gone through this shit. They've already seen through it. They've come out the other side professional.
Yeah.
Whereas, I feel that the people that lead the furry community are still very first generation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
If that makes sense. Like,
no, you're right. Like, Uncle Kage is like first generation furry. He is. He's one of the oldest furries there are, and he's like in charge of stuff, so. Yeah.
Dragoneer, I feel, is ahead of the main art website, not based on competency, but because he did it first.
Yeah, yeah.
It just so happens that these people, not so much Uncle Kage, I'm not going to call him out on this. It's just I'm upset that they didn't call out the badges in the first place, but Dragoneer himself is being a fucking idiot and is wearing those Nazi badges.
Oh yeah, I was there at FA United, standing there at his panel. He was the only person at the entire convention that I saw wearing that fuck off Nazi first badge, and I was just thinking, like, dude, like, get a clue. You're at your own convention, and no one wants to wear that except for you. Like,
do they not get tired of every time they do a journal that it's just constant shit talking? Like, when I was newer to FA, I'm like, oh, why are so many people so angry at FA all the time? It seems that any time they try and do anything, people are just ripping their throat out. And then get this, I interviewed Dragoneer on Cuckshack.
Oh yeah?
He consented to it, but then afterwards he's like, I'm not going to go into full discretion here, but basically he didn't allow it to go live. Gave me free advertising as compensation for the time. And then he pulled the advertising, saying that was like too offensive too.
Oh yeah, I remember people getting mad about that.
Yeah, but it never actually went down. I just made one single tweet, and that was enough attention for him to reverse it and then just let it run all the way through. It's like, how is a website meant to get anything done if its lead manager position is buckling to every single piece of pressure that comes towards him?
I don't know. That's the thing. I want to do an interview. You know, I have my own little thing that I do with Dragoneer, but he won't do it.
If he can't.
Yeah.
My episode with him was not malicious by any intent. I literally the whole episode was framed. I told him from the very start, I'm like, I'm a big fan of what you do, and I feel that you get too much unfair flack. Let's do an episode to humanize you in front of the furry community, so people can see that you're a real person and that you have their best interest in mind. And then we did the episode. That wasn't the answer that happened. He knew that, and that's why we had to pull it. He said that he didn't like how he sounded, how he presented himself. He said that it made him look bad the way he himself responded to questions, and was like, dude, if you can't present who you are on a genuine level, then this whole theatrics of trying to fit in and conform to what is very obviously a radical agenda and making that your entire platform is not going to work long term.
Hey, yeah. Well, I mean, there's a whole lot of other reasons. It's all stuff that I've heard. So rumors that are, you know, like pretty far-reaching though about why people hate FA, and it's not just because of the sort of like leftist thing. It has to do with finances too. Like,
well, yeah, the way it's run is my biggest concern. Like, anytime I see FA investing in moderators and stuff to chase down political opinion, it's like, how about you take that down by like 75% and put those people into actually implementing the features that have been missing for 10 years?
Yeah. Like, how about fix the website? But it's probably the same thing that happened to Flight Rising, if you ever played that game, where the lead programmer, whoever, got kicked off the team for not having the correct political opinions.
That's literally what fucking happened.
Yeah,
Zorch came on.
Yeah.
He knows what he's doing. He made a fantastic revision of the website, and people were so caught up as like, oh, but Zorch has drama. Zorch is problematic. He's a child molester, isn't he, or something? Even though like police even went to his house and they couldn't find anything. But we're kangaroo court, so we determine ourselves just by how we feel that he must be malicious. Therefore, get him off. Okay, sure. Well, then what happens to the website, you dumbasses? Like, if you can't trust anyone that is not on your side to do the right thing, why is it that anyone on that side doesn't seem to be competent and just seems to be wanting things from other people? Like, what's going to happen is if this like escalates any further than it already has, all these people, and you can already see it, the people that are moderate, the people that don't give a shit about this political drama anymore, are just going to start posting their stuff on platforms that do not smear them and actually treat them with respect. This already happened to E621 with us. Like, okay, no one on this platform gives a shit that we're posting here. The only reason you like our content is because it's free and that it's just constantly coming. Mm-hmm. So fuck you. You can indulge it on a platform that actually like conforms to what we need, which is basic moderation. Yeah. So if it comes to the point where people are getting taken off, their businesses are being like corrupted and like taken advantage of because of their political beliefs, bloody blood, they're getting reported for it and all that, they'll just post somewhere else.
Yeah, well, that's what people need to start doing. Like, I hate to say it, but if people are sick of YouTube and want another thing to pop up, they need to stop posting to YouTube. And
yeah, that's a sad thing. Like, and just the best solution is boycotting. Yeah. Sadly, like, if you don't like something, don't use it. Simple as that. If you don't like opinions, don't look at them.
Yeah.
Same logic.
And take that.
That's just too much work for a lot of people.
Well, you have to take that hit for a while, you know? Like, it would be basically a lot of these. I know you're talking about posting art on Fur Affinity, but I'm thinking of the same thing for me would be, you know, not posting stuff on YouTube and posting it somewhere else instead. But then hardly anyone is even on some of these other websites, so I'd have a tiny fraction of the viewers, and even if I linked, people are super lazy, so like even if I linked that video onto like Twitter and said, hey, I'm here now, like hardly anyone would make accounts on the new website and subscribe to me there.
It'd be like 5 to 10% of the viewership you get otherwise.
Yeah.
And sadly, that's the logic that applies universally. The reason that sites like Weasel, Furry Network, and all that kind of died upon entry is because no one was willing to make the transition. And I'm sure it's for multiple reasons. They might be upset with the direction. Like I was personally upset with Furry Network's direction because the same people that run that website kind of fucked us around for 3 years.
Yeah.
On some NDA stuff. So that's fair. It will take a long time for competition to impact Furry like FA in a meaningful way, but that's the lucky thing. If you're just willing to compromise a little bit on terms of exclusively Furry, there's already websites that are way more popular and way more successful already. Just go to hentai websites. Same shit.
Right. Yeah.
And
funny enough, I think that the whole... Talking about that, I think that the whole, like, otaku and furries are really not that different. They just pretend to be, but they're basically the same thing.
people love to be as singled out as possible because it makes them special.
Mm-hmm. So maybe we should... What's that?
So let's end the episode on a high note, because we've been bitching for a full hour.
Of course.
So let's dedicate the last 10 to 15 minutes to something positive. What would you say the 3 biggest things you are grateful for in terms of your platform? So your YouTube channel, stuff like that.
Things that I'm grateful for. Wow.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's a big null right there. I can't think of a fucking thing.
Well, okay. So one thing that comes to mind is when I make videos, people come to me on basically a daily basis and tell me how they have like thought about some of the same things that I think about, and how they're grateful that someone else like said something or thought about it, and it made them feel less alone. And what they don't realize is that also makes me feel less alone. You know, because I'm the same as them. People don't understand that, but I'm the same as them. Like I just as much want, you know, like validation in my thoughts, and not to, because I don't want to feel like I'm crazy. You know, I don't want to feel like I'm the only person on the planet who thinks about things this way. And so I guess, yeah, I'm grateful for that.
One good thing to keep in mind in that regard is that just because it seems like the quieter voice does not mean it's not the silent majority. One thing very hostile people tend to take advantage of is the fact that the loudest person tends to get the oil. The squeaky wheel gets the oil, you know, the old analogy like that.
Yeah.
So they've learned to complain about things and absolutely everything constantly. So it can feel that even though it might be, let's say, 5 to 10% of the furry community complaining all the time and making it seem like a really shitty place, what people tend to forget about is that huge amount of people that just want to go into the community just to talk to people, to have fun, to fursuit, to look at the porn, to fucking write the music, to do all that kind of stuff, and that never gets attention because it's not sensational. So of course you're going to hear about Nazi furs all the time and corrupt like moderation and fucking stupid shit, but it's no different from the average like magazine or like the average tabloid. It's the same shit. Just tune it out. You don't have to subscribe to that. Does it make you happy? That's the biggest question. Is like, does being miserable make you happy? And I think the more people that do reach out to the people they truly admire, the people they feel that are really making the content that matters, that are like doing things the right way, the way that you can truly relate yourself to, that I think this community is going to get a lot healthier. Because as you've said, all it takes is just that one person, or just the 2 or 3 people that just say, hey, I really appreciate your content, keep it up, this really resonates with me, for you to do it in the first place.
Yeah.
That's it, yeah?
I don't know. I don't know what to say. Well, you say everything, then I don't...
Well, how about this? Your fan base, your ideal fan base, all the starry-eyed little lads and girls sitting on their knees, their hands on the knees, you know, looking up like they're begging for a treat, but the treat that they want is your delicious final note information of this podcast. They want a solid 3 to 4 minutes from you about this big pep talk that you're going to tell them to keep motivated and
oh my
what
God.
they should do.
You want me to give a pep talk? Do you watch my content?
So at this point in the podcast, I'm going to switch off the dumb music and put on the inspirational music, like the slow violins building up, the swelling of like the orchestral playing. I'll put like a sunset slowly beaming over the sunrise, and it's just going to be your face superimposed over the lake, you know, just kind of reflecting on everything. All right, go ahead.
Hey, you know, sometimes you feel really bad about yourself. You feel really bad about the furry community, but it's okay, because you just gotta remember that it's still better than going outside. I mean, that's why we're all indoors on our computer anyway, right? Because normal society sucks that much more. So when you look at that from that perspective, maybe the furry community's not so bad.
That brought a tear to my eye, but I'm not going to render it on my puppet because that's too much work. So just implied crying at this part. Alright, so where can people find you on?
Oh yeah, on YouTube is my main thing. Let's say just YouTube, Kothorix, and also on Twitch, and I do streams every night at 9 p.m. Eastern. Same name.
And we may be hosting each other on Twitch because vultures need to pick for what they can.
Yeah.
Okay.
So you might see his stuff on my thing once in a while.
Alright everyone, thank you for watching Cuckshack. Next episode might be too Griffin, but if that's too depressing, maybe someone else. Alright, thank you everyone. See ya, bye. Wave goodbye.
Bye.
I'm probably not going to render it, but implied waving from Kothorix. Alright, thank you, bye.
Wow, the furry community sure is awesome.